Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside Podcast. I am your co-host, Justin Wallace. With me is my cousin, co-host, Kyle Lindsay, and we do a deep dive into fantasy numbers to find you the upside info to help you win your league year over year. Today we are talking running back rankings and more specifically RB1s. First of all, we're going to talk about a little bit of NFL news. Kyle?
Well, we're going to start with some stupid news of the day, right? We've got our favorite sandbox, which is Twitter. And today, Michael Thomas and Devontae Parker got us all rolling with their fun little argument because Devontae Parker typed the letter A, right?
Yes.
There was a question posed, and it was what's harder, making a catch while being covered by Stephon Gilmore or defending against a pass to Michael Thomas and stopping him from catching it. And Devontae Parker simply answered with the letter A, first option.
And of course,
and, I don't think it was so much a knock on Michael Thomas as it was like just a, what I do is difficult kind of thing, right? Because he plays against him twice a year.
Right.
So I think that's what that boiled down to, but Michael Thomas got really bitter about it.
Well, it's like he went from 0 to 100 like that. You know what I mean? It was a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, but he kind of did that with the pass catching last year. Went from 0 to 100. That was 3 games. So I guess it's kind of how he runs.
Nice segue. Segue. I like that. I do like the final comment though of Michael Thomas was, dude, you're not even at the table. And that is such an accurate statement, especially from a guy, Michael Thomas, second round pick, Devontae Parker, first round pick. Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and take my shares of Michael Thomas moving forward.
The price is high, though.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. All right, well, next up on
where we have an awful Tom Brady news of the day.
Yes, you know what? We're going to have that as a segment, actually. So this one is so Tom Brady works out with some offensive players. It was in Tampa. They had a little private workout. It's legal. Some other players that were there, Mike Evans, some of his tight ends, O.J. Howard. So the thing is, though, Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, they were not there. So I'm sure ESPN and some other places. Yes, exactly. Let's sell them. Let's pull this out of proportion. We should drop them down in our rankings. Maybe that'll show in our rankings. We'll see.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. It's Tom Brady. He's also walking into other people, like random people's homes. So
the old B&E.
I don't know.
Tom
I think
Brady.
he's out there I think he's out there just having fun. So it is what it is. Maybe those guys are in another state right now and they're under lockdown. Maybe they're up with me in Illinois or
right.
California.
Maybe they're being smart and staying inside for now.
For now, yeah.
For now, we'll see. What else we got?
Up here in Illinois, big news. Mike Ditka's restaurant downtown Chicago is closing for good. It's on the Gold Coast. He's got a few locations though, so but it's closing for good actually due to COVID. So no more Ditka. I know a few people up here in a different league who would always host their draft at one of Ditka's restaurants. It was Ditka's Roundhouse. One year he randomly walked in during their draft and took pictures with all of them. So that was the year that they all remember. Yeah. So Ditka's smoking a cigar illegally in his own restaurant.
Well, it's his restaurant. That's not illegally. That's legal.
Yeah. I own it. It's okay, right? Yeah.
Well,
but
not
yeah,
anymore.
so
if
you're coming to Chicago, you're going to have to go to the suburbs to get Ditka's.
Now, you said you had multiple restaurants. Is it multiple different kinds of restaurants, or is it just the Ditka restaurant?
I'm pretty sure they all specialize in red meat of some kind. I think it's either sausage made of pork or it's beef. It's one or the other. It's classic Ditka. So they might offer some salad, but it's probably got beef on top of it. So
I'm salivating.
Yeah. All right, so moving on from news, we can jump right into the buy-sell of the day. We're dealing with trying to deal with just running back stuff today. So I'm going to post some buy-sells here. You're going to post some as well, and we'll see who's buying, who's selling, what we got, okay?
Yep.
So you taking Joe Mixon in the first round. Right now, he's showing up in the ADP on Fantasy Football Calculator towards the back end of the first round, around 10th overall.
Okay.
But I don't know. Do you keep him in the first round? You're going to take him there? Where would you take him?
Good question. So can I answer both?
And you're going to buy in, you're going to sell? You're going to buy in?
Yeah, well, it all depends on what happens. So there was a report recently stating that, Joe Mixon may hold out for training camp for a new contract. He's a running back. He's going into the final year. This is pretty common. It feels like, running backs have – it is becoming the norm. I mean, running backs have a short shelf life. I mean, that's we know this. So it's not uncommon for a running back with his skill set to hold out and potentially ask for more money or get a new contract. So, the thing is, he'll only be 24 at the start of the season. I mean, which is nuts to me. Feels like he's been around for a while, but he's only going to be 24. But if he holds out, I feel like year over year, running back holds out during training camp, comes back. It's kind of a dud year. So that's what I want to say is I will buy him in the first round, middle to late, if he reports no holdout or gets a new contract. Selling if he holds out any part of the training camp. What do you think?
I think that I don't have him in that first round, I don't think. I mean, he could be there, but I have too many concerns with him. I feel like the promise has always been there, and there is clearly like a potential for him to get there.
Yep.
I've got him at the back of the first round right now, but he could fall out of it. Right now I've got a few rookies sitting right behind him.
Okay.
Who I think now that they've been drafted, I think they fall into some really good situations or good opportunities. And I'm looking for a few people to start making the jump. Once a guy starts getting that money, sometimes there's a fall off. Sometimes there's a year that they're pretty good, and then they start falling off. So I would say that, if he doesn't hold out. What's that? I'm sorry?
I said Todd Gurley, anyone?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that this year he's probably still first rounder in the end. He falls in that second tier, but I would put him at the back of the second tier. So I buy him in the first round right now, but if he holds out, then no, he's gonna start moving backwards for me. People got burned by Zeke. People got burned by a few different guys.
Yeah.
And I don't see it. I don't see it being a very good situation if he holds out. Even one game, it starts to become a problem just because you got a new QB there.
Got a lot of
changes.
Work
on figuring him out, figuring out each other. That offense is all new. All that stuff.
Second year coach. Yeah. It's all new. All righty, next one. This is a kind of off the wall one. Christian McCaffrey over 2 pass attempts this year. Buyer selling that.
Yeah. So I threw this one in there. The reason I threw this one in there is not because I think it's just silly and funny and crazy, though it is.
But you do.
I do. It's a silly way. It's a silly way, really, to broach the issue, which is that you've got this guy who was clearly far and away the best running back in the league last year, start to finish, right? There was just no question about it. Like, he was there the whole time. Dalvin Cook was hanging with him for a little while. Aaron Jones hung in there for a little bit, but he pulled away by the middle of the season and was just demonstrating dominance. And then he's lost his QB. He's lost his coach. Everything's changing. So, he's a special talent, clearly. And I think that's really what I wanted to highlight, is that even with all those changes, I still think he's going to do great things, because he made the jump from college being an outstanding player. He made the jump and excelled. And I don't even know that offense was already before geared for him anyway.
Right.
I think it's going to be more geared for him now, possibly. But over 2 pass attempts.
Yeah. So final question: buy or sell?
I will sell that. I don't think I think he maybe throws 1 at most, but it's just not his game, and I wouldn't want him standing back there if he's my bell cow.
Right.
Get hit like a QB,
or hurt his pride or something like that. I will sell it as well, but it's one of those things. Matt Rule is new. Maybe he wants to spice it up a little bit in this league. kind of mess around. You just never know. That's not too many. That's not too few pass attempts. So it could be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
What else you got?
All right, so let's talk about Dalvin Cook here. Are you going to buy or are you going to sell that he's going to play a full 16 for the first time in his career?
I am going to
play 16 games.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sell this. So just a little bit of information. 2017 tore his ACL. He played 4 games, and then following year he came back 11 games in 2018, 14 last year, which is his most. I'm still going to sell this. But I'm going to land right there in the middle of 2018, 2019. I'm going to land right there in the middle. Minnesota should be a pretty good team. They should make the playoffs. They're definitely going to probably sit him week 17. So, go ahead and knock off one of those right there. And there could be something that pops up. But when he played, damn, he looks good. So, but I'm still going to say right in between 11 and 14. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to sell it as well. I'm right there with you. I don't envision him getting the full 16. I'm not going to count off for getting sat if they manage to lock down the division early or something.
Right.
So I'm not going to I would still count that to his benefit.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's never played a full 16. Going into last year, one of the reasons that I took him in the first round and might have been considered a reach at the time was that I was looking at the words coming out of their camp, the words out of him saying, this is the healthiest I've been since I was started college.
Right.
And so to me, I just look at that and I say, this guy doesn't play healthy, or he doesn't play unhealthy rather is what it really boils down
I get
to.
you.
You can't knock him for getting his ACL torn. That's,
but it's kind of an anomaly.
But at the same time, he missed a couple games last year that were a little more borderline, and I think that they kept him sat because they had such a viable backup in Alexander Madison.
Right.
So,
and he's had durability concerns, so it makes sense to go ahead and sit him.
Yeah, and so and they wanted him for the playoff push, right?
Right.
While I am generally buying Dalvin Cook where I could get him, behind guys like Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley,
which we'll discuss.
Which we'll discuss later. But while I'm generally going to buy him, I'm also going to fade it a little bit because my attitude is that they're going to start bringing Madison in to compete a little more.
Right.
Not necessarily to ride Dalvin Cook out of town, but as a 1-2 punch to some extent. Both of them run the same way so that they can get interchanged. And this offense wants to run the ball. They want to run it more. So I think he's going to have a big year, especially if he stays healthy. I don't know that he's going to have as big of a year as he did last year. So,
gotcha.
Let's go.
I gotcha. I will lean towards what you say when it comes to Dalvin Cook. You've had a lot more shares of Dalvin Cook in the past, so I'm definitely we're both in line with what we're talking about on this one, I think. Mm-hmm. So next one here, Miles Sanders as an RB1. Buy or sell?
Sanders as an RB1.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yep.
I had Miles Sanders last year in a few spots, and I paid reasonably for it.
Yes.
I got him in a spot that I think was reasonable as a draft price at the time, but the timeshare, especially the first half of the season, did not favor that price. And this year he's going upwards of round 2. And so that's a tough one. I can see him being an RB1 if they give him the keys to the car.
Yep.
I don't know that they're going to do that. I know that you've got him outside of RB1. I've got him outside of RB1. Our composite ranking pulls him into RB1 territory because we've disagreed on a few other guys at the back of first round. So it's kind of funny. We both have an RB1 that we both disagree is not an RB1, but I could see him.
It's amazing how that works.
Right?
All right.
So the rhetoric is that he's the second coming of Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. So,
there's that rhetoric. Is there that rhetoric?
There is.
There is. Okay.
There is.
You got your ears and eyes on the Eagles.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So I'm not
Okay.
buying. I'm not going to buy this. I'm selling this.
Okay.
Just because in the end, maybe I don't know, maybe I talked myself into the sell, but
Yeah, I think you did just talk yourself into sell.
Yeah, I think
you did.
I'm going to sell it just because I don't trust Doug Peterson. Just like I don't trust Bill Belichick, and I don't trust Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
I don't trust them.
Right.
When it comes to running back, they're going to go, oh, this guy's got the hot hand. We better cool him off over here on the bench while we try to get this guy going too.
Right.
That's their classic.
I mean, 3 hot hands compared to 1. I mean,
yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So,
so what do you got there? What do you have?
Yeah. Okay. So I was kind of shocked that you were going to go sell on this.
You thought I was buy. I know.
Yeah, because you just talked yourself out of it.
I did.
Yeah. I will. Son of a gun.
If I'm taking him in the 4th round, sure. That's where I got him last year, right? But if I'm taking him in the 2nd round this year, I'm selling that.
Well, we'll see that.
You're guessing that he's going to be an RB1 if you're taking him in the 2nd round.
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this. He has all the talent in the world. Super young. He's not even – he's going to be 23 at the start of the year. It's only his 2nd year. I feel like running backs, they just continue to improve those first couple of years. So but like you said, like Doug Peterson, you can't trust him. Running back by committee. Yeah.
Situational concerns.
But, Jordan Howard's gone. Darren Sproles retired. Everybody thought they would probably, bring in someone via free agency or, draft. They haven't done that. And I'll let you, whenever we get to it, I'll let you talk about some rumors whenever we go through our rankings about Miles Sanders. Because like I said, you have more shares on Miles Sanders. So I'll let you talk about that whenever it comes time to it. But
sure.
I'm going to go ahead and buy this for right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy it just to be opposite of you.
It's early. Well, it's early. If things change, things can change, right? Like,
right.
There's a lot of free agent guys sitting out there right now still. So anything can change and his value could drop. Of course, though, they didn't go find that backup in the draft at all for him. So they might be ready to ride him.
Okay.
He had a great second half.
Absolutely. You just never know.
Yeah.
So next off, I feel like what we should talk about as well is, that was a great buy sell segment. Thank you, Kyle. That was good. I'm probably wrong, and this is the RB edition. So, what is your kind of out on a limb prediction for this year for RBs? Go for it.
All right. So my pure crazy this year.
Pure crazy. I like that. Pure crazy.
None of that. None of that distilled or like
muddled,
watered down crazy. No muddling going on. Just pure concentrate crazy, right?
Yeah.
I've got Kenyon Drake potentially finishing as a top 5. Now I'm not going to draft him with that thought, but because you're not going to have to pay that price. He's going somewhere in like the 70s as far as picks go. So that'd put him somewhere around 5. It's still early, so a lot of the drafts
ADPs
information out there is very experimental and kind of wonky and crazy and hard to follow, hard to follow or read.
Right.
But he's fallen somewhere around pick 7. So at that price, absolutely, I'm taking him all day with the hope he's going to finish top 5. But that offense to me is screaming out for a solid running back who's the running back 1. He has, in my opinion, a real chance to be a bell cow back out there. The number 1 competition he's going to have for running and carries is going to be his QB. Like, who else is he going to compete with?
Oh, Chase Edmonds.
I don't think Chase Edmonds is going to do it. He couldn't.
I think
Chase Edmonds couldn't take the job from a broken David Johnson.
Well, okay.
They got him. They sent him away for a sack of potatoes and a kiss. So
that was after the season, yes, but still, okay.
I don't see it. I think that Kenyon Drake is going to be the bell cow there. I really do. I think that they've got a high flying offense potentially. They've got passing options galore. He's gonna when he's on the field, he's gonna see fewer men in the box because you've got so many guys you got to cover. The corpse of Larry Fitzgerald is there. Christian Kirk is there, who is like thin Larry Fitzgerald, and DeAndre Hopkins, right? The guy who's going to probably finish 1 overall. If there's anybody who's going to unseat Michael Thomas, it's DeAndre Hopkins, although it could be Devontae Adams.
Okay.
But I doubt it because they want to run. But I just see a possibility that Kenyon Drake, he's always had that promise. It's the same thing with Miles Sanders, right? He's got all that promise. Are you going to give him the ball? Adam Gase would never give Kenyon Drake the ball. And then those times he did, it was like, who's Kenyon Drake? Where did this guy come from, right? I mean, that's what Adam Gase does to running backs. But regardless of that, I think that offense is ready for a guy who's going to be able to run fresh, run fast, run hard, and see boxes that are empty. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury's going to run the ball on third and 5, 3rd and 6, and he's going to pass the ball on 3rd and 1. He's going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think that's going to open up opportunities for Kenyon Drake. So I could see it happening. It's out on a limb, and you've probably got a chainsaw ready to go. But, hey,
You know what? It's going to be a quick chainsaw. I've never been a Kenyon Drake fan for some reason.
Not a fan.
Okay. I've never really bought into the Kenyon Drake. Like, the hype. Like, okay, there wasn't that much competition in Miami. I get it. Adam Gase, that's where a running back goes to die. But still, there wasn't that much competition in Miami, and yet he couldn't be the clear number one.
He was also seeing some strong defenses out there too, right? He saw.
Okay, now you're trying to nitpick a little too much. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you saw some heavier defenses.
So an argument against me is that he's going to see San Francisco twice a year.
Yeah.
This is what tempers my potential for him, and this is why I don't have him ranked up there. But I'm saying he's got the possibility of.
Right, he does.
Seeing that way. He's going to see them. He's going to see Seattle, who, wants to stop the game, wants to slow it down, wants to give the offense fewer opportunities for their opponent. So I could see that happening. I could see him falling way back, and 5th, 6th round is the appropriate spot for him. But I'll tell you, like, you give me him as my RB2 or flex, I'm happy. As long as I got a solid RB1.
he's not gonna. That's the thing, though. He's not gonna be drafted as that.
No.
That's the. He's gonna be. He's gonna be an early pick. I mean, he's gonna be drafted as an RB2, which is kind of where
the hype machine's gonna kick in on that. I do. I think the hype's right now. It's not there, but it's gonna kick in.
You know what?
Here, his value will drop as a result of that. Like, his price is going to get too high for the value. So
right, let's do this. Okay, you're out on the limb is Kenyon Drake as a top 5 RB. I out on a limb on Kenyon Drake is going to be he finishes outside the top 25 RBs. Talk about that's kind of in between.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how out on a limb that is, but
based off where his rankings are right now, where we both have him, it's actually like right in between. I'm gonna sneeze.
Okay. All right. So what have you got? You're probably see? I just want to remind you, I'm probably wrong, but Kenyon Drake's gonna finish the top 5, right? So I'm probably wrong. So what are you wrong about?
I am probably wrong about Josh Jacobs finishing as a top 3 running back. So, we'll do another deep dive because he does end up in our consensus ranking as a top RB1. But I just think, I feel like he's just tapping into what he can do. Like, he wasn't really asked to do, like, the bell cow type things when he was at Alabama. He had Damian Harris there. With him at Alabama, he was drafted in 1st round, with good old John Gruden, and he loves his running backs. He loves to work his running backs, and I feel like he's just scratching the surface of what they want him to do. If he kind of increases his, pass catching, I think that's what's going to boost him up into that top 3 potential. Because, I mean, they didn't do a whole lot when it comes to running back. Okay, they brought Jalen Richard back. They drafted Lynn Bowden out of Kentucky. Well, guess what? He played wide receiver and quarterback in college. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, learning that he's going to have to do to be a running back in the NFL. So that's kind of why I think he still has a good amount of workload that should be his. And, of course, Gruden keeps talking about it. It just came out recently again. He wants to get him more involved in the passing game. We heard that last year, but maybe that runs true this year. What do you think?
I don't think this is super crazy. I could see it happening. I think that Gruden usually isn't he's not blowing smoke when he's talking about stuff like that. In addition, I think that Josh Jacobs was the most talented running back in that class. I thought that coming out.
Yeah.
I forget who it was everybody was hot on instead because he was drafted ahead of Jacobs. But Jacobs, in my mind, was the clear number one coming out of that draft. And he fell in – mostly that's because he also fell into a great situation. He had no competition for carries from day one. He had a QB who is very clearly at this point disfavored by his team, and they would prefer to replace him if they could. So, at this point, they could use a tackling dummy if it could turn and hand the ball off, I think.
Right.
My concerns for him is that he's going to be seeing more and more loaded boxes as a result of that.
Right.
So I could see him having a hard time getting the yardage. And I do worry to some extent a little bit about wear and tear. He did, if I remember, he played most of the year with an injured shoulder, I think. He had an injury for a very good amount of that year, which makes it all the more impressive how well he did do, actually. So if he gets a healthy year, hell, potentially the sky is the limit. I would say that you're probably 2 years out, though, from a top 3 finish. I could see him getting there eventually, not this year, but next year. So
I got you.
I'm with you on it, just I think a year delayed.
I got you. No, like you said, it's not really that far out on a limb, which we'll see here on our rankings coming up soon. We'll dive a little deeper into that. So I think if you're ready, I'm ready. Go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to talk about our rankings now. We're going to go through only running backs 1 through 12. So we're dealing with running back 1. So if you're in a league that has 12 teams, everybody's got to start a running back. So running backs 1 through 12, you better have at least one of them. So you've got an RB1, a guy that's going to slot into your first running back spot every time.
Yep.
Plug and play is what you're looking for here. And then you just set it and forget it, right? The old Ron Popeil thing. From this point on, though, in these rankings, we're talking just non-PPR. So just straight, no points at all, not even a half point, nothing like that. And we're also talking about leagues that go 1 through 16, regular season, ends somewhere around 13 or 14, a couple weeks of playoffs, 3 or 4, but ending the championship week in week 16. If you're in a league that's going to week 17, find a new league.
GTFO.
Get out of there. Yeah.
GTFO.
Yeah. It's not a league that you want to be in, and you've probably got 15 people playing in the league, or you've got like 24 managers in the league or something, some crazy thing like that. Get out of that league. You're in a bad league. And so once we get our site up and running, we'll have some spaces for people to find maybe and post that they've got league openings or something like that. So
that's a great idea.
Get you helped out here and get you set up.
Get you in the right league. Yeah,
get you into one of the right leagues. Get you into one of the Legion leagues here. In addition to that, we've I just want to mention that the rankings are going to be available in our draft kit.
Yep.
We're working on stats and projections and everything right now. And when we have that ready, we'll post that and publish it and get it ready for everybody to download. And rankings are going to be in there. You're going to get the rankings partially through the podcast here. But as far as projections and additional deep dive information, that's going to all be in the draft kit. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to jump right in with the obvious. Everybody's got him at number 1, and that is Christian McCaffrey. Yep. Running back from Carolina, if you're unaware. Right? Who's that guy? Who's this guy?
I'm new.
Yeah, so Christian McCaffrey turned in one of the greatest running back seasons of all time.
Yep.
If it was not for Lamar Jackson last year, Christian McCaffrey would have probably been hailed as the second coming of LaDainian Tomlinson. Really, truly, like, in my opinion, what he and Lamar Jackson did are only really, truly beaten out by LaDainian Tomlinson's 07 year.
Right.
And yeah, you razz me when we talk about this all the time because I'm always blown away.
I love your stat.
Yeah, this stat is just nuts. I'm blown away every time I see this. I'm like, nah, that's not real. It's that if you take his running back numbers off the table and just say he's a wide receiver and we're going to eliminate all of his rushing, he's the number 8 receiver last year in the league. That just blows my mind. Like so you draft him last year. He was going, I think, 2nd overall general.
Right. It was within top 3 probably.
Yeah, he was
most leagues.
3.
Most leagues.
So you draft him in the top 3, and you're drafting a running back, but you also get a wide receiver 1.
Right.
Like, that's absurd to me. And you only have to start him in one spot. So you get another wide receiver 1.
Right.
It just blows my mind how anybody could lose their league with that guy. It just says you had a great draft spot and you picked a great first pick, but you
might have shot something. You might.
yeah. Next year when you go to the draft, you should bring some dependents.
Right.
So, we've both got him up there. Our composite rankings have Christian McCaffrey there. Yeah, he's sitting there at number 1 for both of us.
Yep.
I think we've got 1 through 5, both. They're all the same.
We do.
So we don't have any disagreement on these.
Yep.
I could see Christian McCaffrey finishing number 1. I could also see some changes, some reduction in his volume.
Right.
Like you said earlier, you don't know what you're getting with Matt Rule. You really don't know what's going to happen there. So, what do you have to add to this? I mean, is there much more other than Christian McCaffrey is great?
Christian McCaffrey, good.
Don't screw this up. Take him. Take him.
Exactly. I mean, he returns as a clear workhorse back. I mean, this is the stat I found today. I just love it. He scored 87.9 points more than the second best running back in standard scoring, like we talked about, weeks 1 through 16. That is 5.86 points more per game. That's just ridiculous. I mean,
that's the margin between most of our games.
Exactly. I mean, he'll come back down to earth a bit. I mean, but he should still finish as no worse than a top 3 running back, barring injury. I mean, like I said, he may come back a little bit. And then you already mentioned it, there's uncertainty surrounding, Matt Rule, but I mean, he's just so damn good, and he's got his money. He got paid. There's no distraction there, so I still think he's just gonna ball the freak out, man.
Yeah,
he's just gonna ball out.
I think that what you just have to remember always is that when you're dealing with rankings, you're not looking at a projection, right? You're not trying to say here's what the total points are going to be. Where do they fall? What you're looking at is what we talked about already. You're looking for that sure thing.
Yes.
And you just don't want to make that mistake at the top.
Especially with your first pick. Yeah, especially with your first pick.
Especially if you have the first pick overall and you really have the option to consider Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. As opposed to Travis Kelce, which, by the way, you should take Travis Kelce next year since you have.
I didn't do that. Second round. Second round. Insider info. Thank you.
So you're looking at a guy who, if you don't take him, if you take him first overall, you're not making a mistake.
No.
You can make a mistake up there, but you're really not making a mistake. If you make a mistake there, you've got to wait 23 picks to make the next pick.
I think our first 4 running backs, as you'll see, either one of those could go number 1 off the board, and you're not really making a mistake.
No, you're not.
So with that, number two, we both have this down. Saquon Barkley. Gosh, this guy's a stud. I mean, the Giants invested heavily in their offensive line. They needed to do that.
Not just for him.
I mean, you want to
Jones. Yeah,
exactly. You want to surround Daniel Jones. Jason Garrett, you ever heard of him? He's now the offensive coordinator. He's done pretty well as an actual offensive coordinator. Not so well as a head coach and calling the plays, but as offensive coordinator, he did pretty well. So, with the addition on the offensive line, I feel like that's going to actually increase Daniel Jones' efficiency. So maybe that means a little less 8-man, in the boxes for Saquon. He did miss 3 games last year, but man, have you seen this guy? He's just built like
he's a beast,
god.
Dude.
Yeah, like a god.
He's a beast. Yeah.
But when he was on the field, he was productive, and I still think definitely his best football is still ahead of him. And you and I have both talked to this off air. We both think he could finish as the number 1 running back this year. Mm-hmm. What do you got?
I think that if you're looking for the safe pick and you've got the first one overall, you're taking Christian McCaffrey. If you want to gamble just a little bit, you're taking Saquon Barkley.
Right.
But I've got Saquon at 2 right now. I can easily see him finishing 1.
Yep.
I don't see him finishing outside the top 5. I just do not. So you're
We
not
agree.
making a mistake with taking Saquon anywhere in the top 5 that he's available. You're taking him.
Right.
Really, in my opinion, the only guy you would question whether or not you should take Saquon ahead of would be Christian McCaffrey. So that's the only reason I have McCaffrey ahead of him. You bring up the point, Jason Garrett, right? Yeah, I mean, not a bad play caller when it's his only job.
Right.
And
yeah,
he has demonstrated a willingness. Yeah, he's demonstrated a willingness to run with a bell cow back, to stick the ball in his hands and constantly let him beat his head in against the defensive front, right?
Right.
I mean, he made Ezekiel Elliott get really, really wealthy. And yes, Ezekiel Elliott is extremely talented, but he got a lot of carries. And back when they were featuring Zeke in that offense, in a standard league, Zeke was averaging on a weekly basis, he was putting between 28 and 34 points on the board. And so that was, I think, in Zeke's second year.
Yeah.
And I think that Saquon Barkley is just physically more gifted than Ezekiel Elliott was at that point. He's got vision. He's got size. He's got speed and strength. The only concerns I have for him, if I'm going to say I've got a concern here, is that he is extremely reliant on the 80-yard breakaway touchdown. But at the same time, damn it, how many of those do you get, right? Like 1 or 2 is a fluke, right?
Right.
Because
when you have multiple guys, during the season,
but like he had like 6 or 8 of them last year in like 13 weeks. So that's insane. So I could see a little regression there on the touchdown front, it related to 80-yard touchdowns. But I think that Daniel Jones' efficiency is going to be better. I think Jason Garrett is going to control that offense better.
Yeah.
Gear it towards the strengths to hide the weaknesses. That offensive line is much better.
Yep.
And so I can see them not needing the 80-yard touchdowns, but still giving him touchdowns. So while he might regress in the yardage category, I still think he's going to stay up there in the touchdown area. So that's why I'm really high on Saquon Barkley. Like, I think if anybody's going to supplant Christian McCaffrey this year, I think the most likely is Saquon Barkley.
We both agree, my friend. Well, we got number 3.
Number 3, we both have him sitting there. It's Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about Dalvin Cook already.
Yes.
That situation for him last year, the reason I reached for him in our draft a little bit. I mean,
a little bit.
I took him at 5th. He was going at the very back of the first round, front of the second round in some drafts. Yep. So I reached a little bit. I didn't like the other options that were available. I'd mocked so much. I had already seen what was coming available in the first and second round, depending on who I took. I'm not a fan of Adam Gase, as you might have picked up. And so relative to the running backs that he's in charge of, I avoid them. So I avoided Le'Veon Bell, didn't want him. I was not a fan of David Johnson. I saw what Arizona seems to have seen too.
Yep.
And so I backed away from those 2. Those were the prime options that were available. Ezekiel Elliott went right before my pick. I would have considered him there, even though there was the holdout.
Right. Yeah, like whenever we drafted, he hadn't even signed yet.
Well, the news came out, I think, that morning.
Actually. Or was it that morning? Okay,
it was that morning because it was Jim who took him.
Yeah.
And he'd been talking about it, and then he showed me the news that morning. He's like, "No, I'm definitely doing it now." It wasn't like I was trying to talk Jim out of it or anything, because I had kind of set myself. I was keeping quiet on Dalvin Cook because I knew I was going to try to get him there at 5 if I could.
Right.
And I knew there were 2 people ahead of me who would consider him.
Right.
So Dalvin Cook, he's in a great situation. That offense wants to run the ball. Yeah, he lost his offensive coordinator, but they still have the offensive consultant. I can't remember who it was. It's old coach of Denver. All he wanted to do was run the ball, and that's what they did. They just
Gary Kubiak?
It might have been Kubiak or somebody. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But his prime concern is always going to be his health. But that's becoming the case with almost any back now, is that you're looking at it and saying to yourself, well, if I can get 12 plus games out of this guy. That's great.
Yep.
That's not what you're exactly looking for in the first round. So there is a
Right.
little bit of concern there. But if you get a healthy Dalvin Cook for 13 games or more,
you're doing well.
You're doing really well. Yeah, Madison's going to fight for some carries, but I think that division is going to be competitive at the top to some extent. And I think that they're going to be fighting for either the division or for the 1 seed, which this year gets the bye. And so I see them pushing and going with their strength. Kirk Cousins, he could throw a deep ball. He just can't throw it to the receivers. So it's all about Dalvin Cook in that offense. They lost Diggs too, man. So you lose Diggs, you pick up a rookie wide receiver who I think is going to be great. Justin
Jefferson.
But you know, receivers take a bit to get into the league and be solid. So I think that they're going to ride Dalvin Cook. They're going to throw him the ball on screens. He's great. He's going to make one cut and go, and he's going to be great. Yep. So got him at 3. What do you have?
All right. So everything you just said, yes. But, you know, I think we can both almost agree on this. Like, if there weren't, like, those durability concerns, very well easily could be number 1 on this list.
Mm-hmm.
If he has played 15, 16 games, you know, every year when he came into this league, very well could have. You know, he scored 1 touchdown in 11 of the 14 games played last year. That's pretty good consistency. You know, another stat here, he had 15 carries within the 5-yard line. That ranked 3rd against all of the running backs. He's part of a run-heavy offense. You mentioned, you know, Kirk Cousins throwing that deep ball. You know, there's always going to be questions about Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, and that's why they do have more of a run-heavy offense. Dalvin Cook is that bell cow, but like you said, Alexander Madison, you know, he showed some flashes. You had Dalvin Cook last year, and you know, one thing, guys, just to let you know, we're going to reference our league quite a bit because that's what we're used to. We've been in this league now for a few years. You're a 2-time champ. I'm a 2-time champ. It's just going to happen. So you definitely drafted Dalvin Cook last year. Great pick. I had him previously, so it's one of those things we both have, you know, our love for Dalvin Cook. And I just think, once again, we talked about buy sell when it comes to him being healthy for 16 games. He probably won't be, but if you get him for 13 plus games, he's gonna possibly win you a league.
Yeah.
So that's really all there is. I mean, he's gonna get the goal line carries. He's gonna get the ball. He's just that damn good.
Well, you know, I had the opportunity to see quite a few of the games on TV for him last year, and one of the more frustrating aspects of their offense, and this is a concern that you have to take into consideration, is that if they continue to do what they did last year, you're going to lose some touchdowns to Alexander Madison running it in from the 20 to 25.
Yeah,
that guy's talented.
Just the break off 2020. Even though the goal line carries, it's just
so
you just have the potential to break off.
Yeah, you're outside the red zone. That offense will also Dalvin Cook will pull himself out of the game within the 5-yard line.
Right.
He'll do it if he needs a break. He's not afraid to let Madison come on the field and do his job too. But where you see the split between the two, the majority of the time, is between the 20s and not in the red zone. Gotcha. They rely more on Dalvin Cook in the red zone. So where you're really losing TDs is that Alexander Madison is talented enough
he can break it off
to go for a touchdown from the 20 out.
Yep.
He is that talented. So that's that area that you're going to lose a little bit. Dalvin Cook is a little bit more of he's starting to get up there in age a little bit as far as running back age. The man's probably 26 or 27 at most. So I'd have to look it up. But he's going into his 4th year. There's a little bit of talk about – or no, he's going into it's his 4th year. And there's a little talk about him wanting a new contract. I think they'll take care of him.
He's 24, going to be around 25 at the start of the year. Yeah.
So the age isn't the issue. The durability is. Right. The healthy game, the games where he's healthy but he doesn't play because maybe it's just not sensible. Right. Those are the things you've got to be concerned with. And he's fighting a little bit for carries with a very talented back behind him. But I think that Minnesota sees Madison as a handcuff too. So
cool. Yep. All righty.
You got 4 here.
Number 4, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, year in, year out. I mean, this guy finishes within the top 5 of RBs. You know, the one year he did not finish inside the top 5 in total points was 2017 when he played in 19 games. But I was just looking that up. Per game, he had the most points out of any running back. So another stat that was
19 games?
No, sorry. When he played in 9 games, he still had the most points per game in that year.
That was the suspension year, right?
I believe so. It's 2017.
Yeah.
I put 9 games. I took out that final game of the season. But you know, one crazy little other stat: he's never finished RB1, like the number 1 running back, which is kind of shocking to me actually. But so he could see, like, you know, Ezekiel is kind of a all-around back. He runs, he catches. He could see a slight decrease in targets this year, just with the addition of. Well, it was with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, though.
Yep.
I mean, but that could also be a good thing.
That's not my biggest concern with him.
Well, that could. I mean, with me, you know, the addition of CeeDee Lamb. I mean, maybe that means a little less 8-man in the box on 3 wide receiver sets. So maybe that could open it up. I mean, the offensive line is still damn good. It's not the best in the league, I would say, anymore. I know they've really been piping that quite a bit recently. I'm also an Indianapolis
Didn't their center just
he
retire?
did. Travis Frederick, you know, for his health, you know, God bless him. I mean, damn good center. But
other than the last 2 years, I mean, he was outstanding. The last 2 years. But the thing is like, I'm saying that because his years before that were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And if you fall back to earth, you're still at earth.
Yeah.
But he was still good. So
also, I mean, he got his money. We just talked about that. He got his money. Maybe, you know, he's going to be less distracted by that. Or does he become maybe another one of those complacent running backs that get that second contract, and for some reason they don't perform the greatest the following year? I mean, exactly. Okay, you're a Packers fan. I'm a Colts fan. So we have kind of, you know, we have those kind of
some knowledge.
Yeah, we have some information when it comes to that. But I think Elliott really is like a true wild card this year. I mean, brand new offensive staff. You know, like I said, you're a Packers fan, so you have that kind of Mike McCarthy information.
That's kind of where my
so go for it, Kyle. What do you think?
So as you can see, I'm a fan.
Packers.
And
I don't have anything.
A little bit of a homer.
Right. I'll wear my Colts jersey next podcast.
Yeah. And so my concern for Zekiel Elliott is less to do with whether or not I think that he's a talented running back. I think he is a really talented running back. I've got him at 4th overall.
Oh, yeah.
Even with my concerns, I still think he is going to prevail because his yards per carry and yards after contact and all that stuff, his numbers are still solid, and he can catch coming out of the backfield, right?
Yep.
And who's he competing with on that team for carries and touches?
Tony Pollard.
He's not competing with anybody, right?
That's not really a guy.
So here's where my concerns come in for him, right? Mike McCarthy. He did this whole big thing where he sat down with Peter King and said, I've changed. I'm
new.
I went in the woods and came out a new man, right?
Went to the shanty or something like that. I don't know.
Nice shanty up in Green Bay and missed all winter. Came out, and here I am, a new man with a new philosophy. And promptly they drafted a 3rd wide receiver. And we talked about this before. You and my brother, who's also a Packers fan, and I forget who it was, said, well, I mean, when was the last time the Packers actually had 3 wide receivers for Aaron Rodgers to throw to? And I said,
that's me.
They won a Super Bowl that year.
Right.
There was James Jones, Greg Jennings, and Jordy Nelson.
Right.
And so he loves those 3 wide receiver sets. And so when you go in 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, and a running back, then you're sitting there. They're not going to load the box in that situation, right?
Yeah.
But Mike McCarthy won't give the ball to the running back. That's where here's my problem is that Mike McCarthy can't change his stripes. He says I did, but then he promptly has 3 wide receivers so he can run the same offense. And the same offense, it doesn't go through the running back. He doesn't go through the running back.
Okay.
He's got Dak Prescott, and Dak is going to be a really good quarterback this year, I think.
For fantasy.
They've also got for fantasy. And they've got the red rifle if that falls apart. So I think
Andy Dalton.
I love Andy Dalton. I don't know why. I think I picked him up one year when I had to stream QBs because somebody got hurt or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, they're always good for at least 18 points. That's my concern with Zeke. I think he's great. I think he's a super talented guy. My concern is also a little bit that maybe we've seen the best out of Zeke, but still, even a slightly declining Zeke is better than the majority of the league. So
still good. So let me ask you something though, real quick. You talked about 3 wide receivers. We talked about CeeDee Lamb coming in.
Yeah.
What do you think Mike McCarthy actually had in part when it comes to the NFL draft? Do you really think he had a say in the NFL draft, or was it just, we all saw the video, we all saw Jerry Jones, you know, he's on his yacht, somebody else holds the freaking phone for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we all know Jerry Jones is the one that makes the decisions on the draft. I mean, there was the report coming out that it said, nobody call me, this is me.
But I think there was more involvement than what was apparent. And we don't know for a fact that Jerry was the one calling the actual pick in.
That's true.
They could have had their draft room somewhere else, and Jerry was just sitting there as
chilling on his
acting.
yacht.
We don't know that. I mean, Bill Belichick had his dog making the picks, right, according to the video, but that's not accurate, right? So I think that in fact McCarthy had more input. He may not have been there saying no, let's go get CeeDee Lamb right now, but he probably said, look, I see Gallup as a slot wide receiver, a la Randall Cobb or something like that. I don't know. But I can see Jerry making the crazy pick, but I can also see it being something that was like, this is within the realm of possibility, and I like it coming out of Mike McCarthy's mouth to Jerry Jones.
And CeeDee should not have been there.
That's
the biggest thing. That's the thing. It's also just going off
starter
off the draft board. Maybe it's just one of those. Oh, okay, that's just too damn good to pass up. I mean,
so at 5 we've got we can move
okay,
here.
we got Derrick Henry at number 5. Dude, what a finish to the season, like for the regular season, also playoffs. And with that, it kind of comes into, okay, with that crazy finish, monster finish, that was a lot of carries. That was a lot of wear and tear on his body to kind of come out of that. Will that kind of haunt him here at the start of the season? Coming into the NFL, he had a lot of carries under his belt, but, last year was his first year that he had more than 215 carries, and I think he eclipsed the 300 mark. His 16 touchdowns, that's going to be really hard to replicate. And he's not really known at all to be a pass catcher. So you really, granted this is a non-PPR league that we're talking about with rankings, but still, you still look at the pass catching as a good or bad. You have to.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the lack of that, I feel like that's going to keep him from being one of the top 1 or 2 running backs this year. Still a top 5, kind of like what we just have. We both have him at number 5. But also to note, he has been franchised, so he's playing on that 1-year contract. So I love me some contract year players. So that's a tough one, but it's top 5. Really not too crazy out of the limb. What do you think?
I think you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah.
There. I don't see him having much competition. I don't see that offense trying to avoid handing him the ball.
I can't even think of a competition.
He makes Ryan Tannehill better because of the volume that he gets.
Yep.
So I think that
here you go.
They figured that out. And Tannehill makes him better too, right? Because Mariota wasn't doing it. It wasn't getting the job done. Tannehill is an accurate thrower.
Yep.
He may not be flashy. He may not be anything great, but he's solid enough to
it worked.
Get there. And it's the new NFL, man. It's the way that it's going, that they want to run the ball more. They want to play action more. They want the passing game to be shorter with more yards after the catch.
Yep.
And so the running game matters more. I can see him catching the ball. They're not going to throw the ball to the running back a lot. This isn't Phillip Rivers checking down constantly. That's not what their game is.
Right.
Tennessee is, if they're going to run the ball, they want a designed run, and they want to win in the trenches, make that first, get through that first level, and let Derrick Henry go to town. Derrick Henry is a physical specimen.
He's a
like
big boy.
Saquon Barkley. These guys
Just
are
taller
men.
and
They are
20 more
men.
pounds.
They are men in the NFL when everyone else is a little boy at times.
Yeah.
These guys are dominant when they get moving. And Derrick Henry is one of those guys. That team at that point on, when they moved over to Tannehill and they started handing the ball to Derrick Henry, they were just winning the whole time. That's what they did.
Winning.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
And
there it is.
There it is. And so I think that they want to ride that wave as well.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about, like we did earlier a little bit, Miles Sanders, looking at second halves, looking at touches, and that's really what matters with running backs, is looking at the volume of touches. That's the best predictor for future success, the past amount of touches.
Yep.
That offense shifted, and when they shifted, they figured it out.
Yeah.
And they figured out that the key to success is giving the ball to Derrick Henry. And, I mean, that guy was carrying people. He was carrying them.
He wins the least person I want to try to tackle award.
I think I remember seeing guys turn and run. At different points. Or he would just run them over. He would bowl guys over.
He reminds me of Brandon Jacobs, but better. Like, just that
better
big
vision.
of a guy. Better vision, just that big of a guy.
Stronger, a little bit faster. Big, but stronger. And
Yeah.
Jacobs, I had shares of Jacobs way back in the days. And he was unreliable. That was the real problem.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry was fitting that bill. He was turning into Brandon Jacobs.
Then last year happened.
Then of all people, Mike Vrabel figures out how to properly use Derrick Henry. So, yeah.
All right, what we got?
All right, we
number
jump
6.
on, move on to number 6 here. We've got Josh Jacobs. This is where we finally start to deviate from one another slightly.
Yes, slightly.
I've got Josh Jacobs sitting at number 6. And you have him sitting
number
at number 7.
Yep.
But consensus-wise, we've got him at 6 based on how things played out.
Yep.
And he's going generally right now 10th pick overall. And he's falling right at around 6th running back. So we're not out of step here with anybody.
Not getting too
we're
crazy.
not out of step with each other. We've already discussed him a little bit. And so, so we don't have a whole lot to say about him, right? More than what we've already said. I think we can move on and go to the next, who we've not discussed at all.
Just a little bit. I mentioned some of the players that they added: the Henry Ruggs, the Lynn Bowden, another wide receiver, Brian Edwards. I mean, even with the addition of all these weapons, because that's what they needed to do going into the draft, was add more weapons. Mm-hmm. And I think that actually still helps Josh Jacobs. Yeah. Because,
he saw a lot like I said before,
he did. Bowden is going to need some time to learn how to play running back in this league. They still have Jalen Richard catching the ball out of the backfield. But like I said before, Gruden wants him to become more of a 3-down back. And
he also wasn't healthy last year for the most of the year.
He wasn't completely. He had like a shoulder issue, I think it was. So
you give.
I don't think he had to have surgery. I don't think he had to have surgery, but he's back to being healthy. So, I think he could be a little bit better than where he's going to go. But
who we have at 7?
So number 7, our rankings, we say number 7 is Alvin Kamara. I have him number 6. What did you have him at?
I think I have him at 8. Yeah,
okay, so 8. So we're right there. I mean, going into last year, he was the consensus. He was a top 5 pick for running backs. I mean, that was a given. But I mean, he actually finished number 18.
Yeah,
running
I'm
backs.
just going to mention that our league is a keeper league, and Camara has been a keeper. I think he's got one more year of like being kept before he falls back.
It's your brother Dan. He's going to be on here with us on the podcast here and there. And that's good to note. He's a keeper league. I'm going to guess he's going to keep him because it's not going to cost him that much. But I know he was very frustrated when it comes to what he was able to do. He's very up and down throughout the whole season. Many believe that he would take on that bigger role with Mark Ingram going to the Ravens, but his volume actually decreased a little bit. Going over some numbers, his carries actually went down. His receptions actually stayed the same. Something I looked this up is kind of crazy. I think it was 86. He's had 86 receptions year 1, 86 year 2, 86 year 3. That's kind of baffling. He's had the same amount of receptions every year. But this last year, compared to previous year, his per catch went down 2.2 yards, which is a decent amount of a drop.
Well, that's a drop that makes me concerned that maybe they figured that out. The defenses have figured out how to game for that.
Right. I think he still – I do think he might have that bounce back year now that, it's another year without Mark Ingram. They didn't really
He
add
wasn't
anything
just
to the
without
stables.
Mark Ingram. He wasn't just without Mark Ingram last year. He was without Drew Brees too.
Well, yeah, he was out with
Teddy Bridgewater.
We should look up those numbers.
The truth is, though, he didn't have. I remember Raz and Dan a little bit when Brees went out. I said, "Hey, man, you should sell high on Alvin Kamara right now."
Yeah, but wasn't
right?
Teddy kind of checked down Charlie?
Yeah, his numbers actually started creeping up a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's what Bridgewater was doing,
yeah.
Which is great news for Christian McCaffrey if that's what Matt Rule wants to do, right?
Yeah.
But for Alvin Kamara, I only see Drew Brees for 16 games being great for him. And I think you're going to have a down year for a smaller running back, and then I would expect a bounce back. Yeah, I'm expecting the bounce back.
I see his carries and catches to kind of remain pretty consistent the way they've been these last couple years, but I feel like his efficiency is what's going to go up.
Yeah, well, relative to last year, yeah.
Oh, even the previous year, yeah.
I mean, last year his projections were higher. I think we both got him projected lower than last year, but I think that we've got him in an area that's probably.
I feel like it's a pretty good number.
Year. I think it's a good year for him.
Yeah. Well, we got number 8.
So number 8, we've got Nick Chubb here.
Yep.
As consensus, I've got him sitting at 9. I think you've got him.
I got him at 8.
Got him at 8. So
yeah.
So we both got him in the same arena there.
Yeah.
And now, like, what you have to consider here is now you're starting to leak into the area where you're dealing with running backs who are a little bit more of a question. Yeah. You're looking at the guys who are probably at best back into the first round, front into the second round, right? Because you're going to have some wide receivers and creep up in there.
Oh, yeah.
And Nick Chubb is one of those guys for me. I've got him at 9, like I said, because I have, I think, a few more, like, guys who I believe in a little bit better. My concern for Nick Chubb is there's a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland. Odell Beckham Jr. last year, he went hungry, right? I don't think he's going to go hungry this year. I think Nick Chubb is I mean, maybe my I'm probably wrong, but should have been what we talked about a couple weeks ago, where I said that I think it's entirely possible that Kareem Hunt unseats.
Yeah, you said that.
Chubb as their RB1. I think I can see an opportunity for them to decide that they're going to go 1A, 1B. And if that happens, then, man, Nick Chubb is not worth the price of admission. He's just not. He has the potential to break off big runs. He does what Saquon Barkley does. He's not as good as Saquon Barkley. He's also not on a team that has the talent or wants to run through the running back like Saquon Barkley does, right? So my concern for him is that even though they've got pass catchers, they're still loading the box. And then he's got competition. So even if you disagree with me that it's going to go 1A, 1B, can't ignore Kareem Hunt, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be some level of competition there for Nick Chubb. And this is why we've got him in the back of the first round, front of the second round. And it's really just that he's going to have competition. He's still super talented, still has the potential to really get it done here for you. But you're going to be fighting with that. You're going to be fighting with that all year. So you got any thoughts on Nick Chubb that tell me how wrong I am?
I'm not going to tell you how wrong I am or wrong you are. I'm going to talk about how wrong I am.
Tell me
That's
how wrong
real
you are.
smart. That's real smart. I'm Justin. Look out. So, he has been highly productive and efficient. Like, since he was entered the league as a second-round pick in the 2018 draft, his volume did decrease whenever Hunt came back from suspension. But I feel like with an offseason's worth of time to figure out how those two can work together, I feel like the Browns can kind of figure out a way to get both of those heavily involved. I can't go without saying that they did, they invested in the offensive line. That line sucked balls.
Yeah.
They brought in Jack Conklin to play right tackle. I mean, he can make some holes. And then they brought in Jedrick Wills. I think he was the number 10 pick for left tackle. I mean, he was solid at Alabama. So I think that's really going to help out the entire offense there with Cleveland, because it's going to have to go up. I mean, that was just horrible to see really what kind of the offense looked last year.
I think Baker has to make a bit of a jump.
A bit? I think it's going to have to make a big jump.
For Chubb to really hit his potential, I think that's where the improvement in that offense has to occur, is for Baker to be a legitimate threat. So that they're – but I'll tell you, even without being a threat, I remember facing the guy in our league who had Chubb both times that he blew up last year for 40-plus points. It seemed to be against me, right? So I think it was the two of us. Yeah, it's always that way.
Always, Kyle.
I think that he and I faced each other in the championship, if I remember correctly, and subtle brag, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that was the one game he didn't blow up against me. So even with the competition, even with a bad offense, even with a line that wasn't solid, he still put up great numbers.
He did.
And so the reliability, the consistency could increase here. And I think that's dependent a little bit on the threat of Baker Mayfield, really.
So one thing I'm going to throw out there that I think that could happen, Chubb isn't really known to be prolific of a pass catcher yet. Hunt has shown that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I kind of wondered if maybe they kind of mess with, putting him in the slot a little bit. I know that's where Jarvis kind of lives, but still, that's a way to kind of get both of them on the field, even if one's kind of a decoy. I feel like could be, maybe they could bring it back and have two running backs on the field at the same time and kind of get them, their touches that way. Because like you said, they do have a lot of mouths to feed, but damn, when you have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, you're going to try to find ways to get them on the field. Yeah,
but, my thought is that also at the same time, they don't necessarily want to run the ball all the time. Like,
that's not new. This is a new.
But look at the acquisitions that they've made. Look at what they've done. They went.
Austin Hooper.
They've got David Njoku, and they went and grabbed Austin Hooper. They fought for Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
These are not two blocking tight ends. These are not run game tight ends. These are pass catching tight ends. I think that they have a phenomenal, the second coming of maybe Tom Brady in Baker Mayfield, when he's really just Jeff George 2.0 possibly here, and or any Cleveland quarterback for 27 years roughly, right? Yeah. So I mean, the bar is pretty low when you're replacing Johnny Manziel, right? So so I think they want to throw the ball.
We'll see.
They like to run it. They like the success, but I don't think that's where that offense starts, and I don't think it's where it finishes. And so I would say temper your expectations, but you're probably going to be safe because he's still going to get you blow-up games. Consistency is a concern.
Yep.
So want to jump in and go ahead and grab number 9 here?
Number 9, we got Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no denying that when Aaron Jones gets the ball, he's efficient. They always yell, free Aaron Jones, and they finally kind of freed him last year. 1,558 yards on just 285 touches in 2019. That is pretty good evidence of them freeing Aaron Jones. Mm-hmm. There are two things that I think that could potentially kind of keep him from being one of those top 5 running backs this year. One is he scored 19 total touchdowns last year. I mean, he's definitely one of those bound to have a touchdown regressions. I mean, that's kind of given. 19, you just don't see that kind of replicate the following year. But number 2,
you could see him getting over 14 still. I could see that.
You could, but it's not 19. That's the regression. Number 2, the Packers drafted A.J. Dillon. He was drafted at the back end of round 2, which is a higher pedigree than the presumable top 2 running backs in front of him right now, potentially. I mean, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, they weren't drafted in the second round or earlier. So, I mean, the Packers have shown that they're going to be a more run-heavy offense. I mean, I think that's the least amount that Aaron Rodgers has thrown the ball since he was sitting on the bench. So I do think maybe his volume will continue to rise, but maybe not, with the two other running backs on the roster. I know you're a Packers fan. You're chomping at the bit to kind of get going here. So what do you got for Aaron Jones?
I'm a Aaron Jones truther, as you know. As you know.
I know you're just you're just dying right there, just waiting to get after it.
I mean, I'm an Aaron Jones truther. Go, Pat, go! I fully believe in Aaron Jones.
You just went 6 to midnight on that one.
Yeah, I did. 6 to midnight. I can see what you're saying, and I do agree to some extent with what you're saying. I've got him ranked at 7. You've got him at 10.
Yeah, we're not.
And so we're not that far from one another, but it is the largest deviation.
It is
to
this top 12. Point. Yeah.
And so there are some differences of opinion in a few areas, and for me, it's that I think that this offense wants to run the ball.
Yeah.
That's LaFleur's background. That is what they drafted for. This is the first chance that that the GM really had to go and pick a running back that is going to help out with these guys. Aaron Jones is entering essentially a contract year here, right? I mean, he's going into his fourth year, so it's a contract year. Jamal Williams drafted the same year, and he's
drafted earlier. Yeah.
No, he was drafted the same year, but he was drafted ahead of Aaron Jones, I think.
Yeah, earlier. Earlier in the
draft.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry, that's what I meant.
So the two of them are both entering a contract year, and I think that's the reason they went and got a number 2 round running back partially. I think that A.J. Dillon fits what they want as far as running style going forward. I don't think that he's going to supplant both of them. I think he's going to replace Jamal Williams this year. Now, whether or not that's the long-term outcome, I don't know. But I think he's going to replace Jamal Williams. If anybody's going to suffer touch loss, it's going to be Jamal Williams, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
So I think Aaron Jones is going to more consistently get carries. I think the game plans are going to be schemed more towards him. But he's very valuable in the pass-catching game, too.
Yeah.
And that's an area that has only been improving for him. And I still think he's got some room for growth that we haven't seen out of him yet. So another stat that's crazy that you were pointing out with regard to, who was it? Dalvin Cook, his carries inside the 5, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Jones was up there.
Yeah.
His carries, he had, I think, 13 to 15, somewhere in that range, carries inside the 5. And he converted those into, I think, 9 touchdowns. So his touchdowns were coming from short yardage for the most part. He was either catching, 30-yard touchdowns, or he was running in from a short distance. But he has breakaway capability. So he's a guy who I could reasonably see some regression in a lot of different areas. But I could also see that offense is geared for him right now.
Yeah.
We're moving away from Aaron Rodgers. There's just no denying that, as much as it makes my heart hurt. There's just no denying that they're moving in a new direction, and Aaron Rodgers' capabilities are greater than what this offense really truly needs.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to throw as much. And he was happy to hand the ball off a lot last year. And he sees that as a great thing and valuable, and it's useful. But he's got to have guys to throw to. So it's the opposite problem that Cleveland had.
Right.
Right? There's nobody to throw the ball to except for probably one of the best in the league.
All right.
Devontae Adams. So teams are going to stuff the hell out of that box until they figure out how to throw that ball again to somebody who can actually catch it.
Yeah.
So,
do we want to take a quick minute for a Packers NFL draft rant at all?
No.
I mean, it was one of those things. They were one game away from the Super Bowl, and maybe they more fire.
Here's my rant. Okay.
More fuel to the fire, but yet let's go ahead and draft a quarterback.
Here's my rant.
There it is.
I'm actually fine with it.
Oh.
There's my rant. I was fine with it.
I can't wait to get Dan on here.
But what I will say is both Dan and I told you that they might draft Jordan Love.
Yeah,
before it
but
happened.
you guys weren't fine with it whenever it exactly happened.
Because it didn't and doesn't make sense until you sit down and really truly think about it. This is a team that perennially is drafting at the back of the draft, right? The back of the first round. So if you truly believe as a GM, and I trust the GM to be smarter on picking guys than me, if you truly believe that Jordan Love, I would hope he is. If he's not, then there's the problem, right? He's paid much, much better than I am to talk about football.
Right.
So if you believe that he's capable of making the evaluation and he believes in this guy such that, and the coach believes such that he's a first rounder and they think he should go much higher than he was falling, they have to look at it and say, okay, we were one game away from the Super Bowl. We think we can do that again. We think we've got guys like Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equanimous St. Brown, all coming back. We got to hit on one of them, right? We've got Reggie Bagleton coming out of.
Never heard of him?
No, never heard of him. One of the best pass catchers and route runners coming out of the Canadian Football League.
Canadian A.
Yeah. And I mean, the guy dominated up there for a few years on teams that were winning a lot. And he's not huge. He's not big. And he's not the fastest guy, but route running. I mean, if you can run a great route, you're going to beat a lot of defense in this league.
You got to earn some trust from Aaron Rodgers too. If you do. Right route.
Yeah. But my thought is that they thought, okay, well, we've got Devontae Adams. We need one more guy to get it right. We've also got Jace Sternberger, who's going to be able to help us catch the ball a little bit more. He popped his cherry last year in the end of the year with the TD. So that's out of the way. So
you don't have the corpse that is Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. So my attitude is, and what I've come down on it as is, when are they going to get a chance to get a guy who they think is the future again, right? Next year, you've got a bunch of guys coming out. We talked about this before. You've got Trevor Lawrence. You've got the guy out of South Dakota State, right? Or North Dakota State University.
You got Justin Fields, Ohio State.
You got a lot of talent, but every year there's like 6 or 7 teams that are QB needy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
The Packers just aren't going to be QB needy for a while. And they're also not going to be in a position likely to draft a guy who is the heir apparent. So you might as well go and get him while you can if you really believe he's the guy. And there's been suggestions, and I'm not buying into this, but there's been suggestions that Jordan Love has talents that can make him like Pat Mahomes. Whether they develop him that way, whether he actually can develop into that is another thing. It's entirely an unknown quantity, right?
Super dream scenario.
Yeah, but when are you going to get a chance to get that guy when you're drafting at the back of the first round every time?
It's true.
So, I mean, and if you're the Bears, when are you going to get that guy in the front of the draft, right?
You're going to keep trying. Keep throwing those darts.
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel any better? Was that good?
Yeah, I was going after the Bears. Got to go in on them. So I ranted.
I was just talking about Packers.
And then I managed still, if you noticed, I managed to take the Packers plus rant. All of the Packers are great. And then hit the Bears still.
I mean,
so you got to knock the Bears. You haven't done enough to help the Packers until you've
knocked the Bears because they've been down forever. Yeah. All right, let's get back to it. Number 10, Joseph Mixon.
Yeah.
I don't know if his name
is all you,
Joseph
man,
Mixon.
because
I know.
You are if I'm an Aaron Jones truther, you're a Mixon truther.
That's only because, okay, let's go back to our draft last year. I did take Joe Mixon in the first round.
Back in the first round.
Back in the first round. I can't remember 8th or 9th or something like that. We had keepers, so they're, it was on probably a lot of other people's draft boards. Well, maybe not. So there's no doubt that Mixon is the clear number 1 back in Cincy. Going into his 4th year, he's still young. The thing with him, volume was good, but there was so many deficiency on this offensive line, and the lack of the pass catching as well for him have kind of hurt his efficiency as a fantasy running back. The Bengals do get their first-round pick of 2019 back, Jonah Williams. He was out last year. I think it was a torn labrum in the shoulder. Got to suck as an offensive lineman to tear their labrum, but he should be back. They also got, Joe Burrow. Ever heard of him? they should see an increase in play from their quarterback and their wide receiver. Never heard of him. A healthy AJ Green. I do hope AJ Green comes back. I've always liked AJ Green. Hopefully he comes back healthy. They did draft T. Higgins in the second round as well. So it kind of seems like I'm talking about a lot of things that maybe could take away from Joe Mixon's volume, but I actually kind of think maybe that opens up a little bit. Once again, I was a fantasy owner of him last year. He was absolutely atrocious until after the team's bye week. Once week 10 to week 16 happened in non-PPR, he was the number 6 running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there, I think
that's why we've both got him in that.
I have him number 9. I have him number 9.
I have him 11, I think.
Okay, so we're right there.
We both have him up in RB1 territory.
We talked about this as well. There have been reports of him potentially holding out. So, when it comes closer to that, you could see Joe kind of drop a little bit here, there, up and down our rankings. It just kind of depends on what we hear from the Cincinnati camp. So that is my Joe Mixon. I do like Joe Mixon.
Yeah, and if the draft is, I'm sitting in the back of the first round, let's say. And the draft is rolling such that I'm looking at it and I've got, I can pick a guy I consider to be a tier 2 running back, potentially.
Yeah.
Or I can pick a guy who's a solid wide receiver 1 who's going to be there. We're talking Hopkins, Adams, just Michael Thomas.
Thomas probably.
You're not seeing Thomas at the back of the first round.
Most likely not. But I get what you're saying.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You see these guys at the back of the first round. You're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to take the sure thing, or the guy who's like, if he's healthy, he's going to be a sure thing. I'm going to take that wide receiver. And then when it rolls back around on the elbow here on this snake draft, which you should be doing snake drafts, if you're not doing an auction. And you're at the top of the second round, I'm not going to shy away from taking Joe Mixon as my RB1 there.
Yeah.
Even with keepers in our league, let's say we're not playing keepers. If the other guys that we've talked about are off the board, I'm not afraid to take Mixon there. I think that you've got a lot less uncertainty with him, and I think that you've also got a lot of upside because you look at what's changed. Ding, ding, ding. You see the changes that they've made. I think they're gearing that offense more and more toward this year being run specific.
Especially
and
with
Joe
the
Burrow, Joe Burrow, he's not going to throw the lights out. He's going to be solid. He's going to be good, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to put up a Peyton Manning year 1, level or a James Winston INT.
Well, yeah, he could.
Like
INT wise,
18 INTs or something, wasn't that?
Yeah.
Didn't Manning set the rookie record?
It was in the 20s. It's like mid-20s, I believe.
Yeah, he has the rookie record for.
But he had a decent career after that.
Once he got Edgerrin James.
Jesus.
I'm a Colts fan too. I'm from Indiana originally, so I'm fine with that. I like to give you a little grief.
Yeah.
But I can see Mixon being a solid RB1. You're going to get a few big bust outs. I wouldn't bank on him creeping up there into the top 5.
I feel like
I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see him do that. I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see him throw up weeks where he's in the top 3. So, it's matchup specific in that regard. And he's got the Steelers twice a year. That's not going to be great. That
Ravens twice a year then.
Yeah. So that's not going to be fun. They're going to be playing from behind. You're looking at game script stuff. They're going to be playing from behind with the Ravens a lot.
Yep.
He can catch the ball, but I don't think that's where that offense wants to use him exactly as his primary threat.
They just haven't used him there.
He's not going to get game planned out. He's also not going to get game scripted out. Yeah. But he is going to be tempered a little bit by those things.
Well said.
Outside of his control. So let's jump here to 11.
Yep.
And the 40-year-old, the oldest or the youngest 40-year-old in the league is Leonard Fournette. Right? Somebody check that guy's birthday. You're gonna Obama him what is it, the birth certificate, birthrigate him or something?
We said no politics. No,
no politics. Call for his birth certificate here, because this man looks older than me, and he is by far younger than me.
And you're old as
But
balls.
I also don't run headlong into giant men for a living. So
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And I never did it on camera. So
Okay.
But anyway, Leonard Fournette, we've got him sitting at 11. I've got him at 14, and you've got him
12.
at 12.
Yep.
And because of the way that the cards fell here, he's sitting at 11 for us.
Mm-hmm.
So he's ahead of where both of us have him. But that the same is said for our RB12 here. Let's focus on Fournette though. I don't like his situation. I don't like what Jacksonville does as an offense. I think Minshew I think Minshew elevates that offense.
Yeah.
I mean, how can't you when you're Gardner Minshew, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you elevate it. I think Minshew's going to have a pretty good year, but I think it's not going to be great. And I think that Fournette he's going to be solid. He's going to get his carries. He's not got a hell of a lot of competition. I mean, what is it? Reichwell Armstead, I think is his
Reichwell
backup.
Armstead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nobody's drafting Reichwell Armstead, not even as a handcuff for Leonard Fournette.
Probably not.
But, Leonard Fournette he's consistent is the best I could say for him. And when you're drafting an RB1, you're talking about RB1s, you're looking at solid, consistent, decent guys. Like, that's what you're trying to grab here. And I think that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
If you're getting Leonard Fournette in the middle of the second round or the front end of the in that early middle second round, I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But personally, I would want him in the back of the second round. So I would start looking at wide receivers a little more ahead of him.
Yeah.
For me, I see Leonard Fournette, and I think like I thought last year, which was avoid him like avoiding Le'Veon Bell. I avoided Leonard Fournette was one of the guys I avoided in that same respect.
Yeah.
I avoided Le'Veon Bell. I avoided David Johnson, and I categorized Leonard Fournette the same way. Regardless, he still did well enough last year to justify
really well.
his ranking this year. So you're not buying flash when you're buying Leonard Fournette, but you have the potential for it. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
He's still young. I know he looks old. He's still young, but he's got a lot of tread worn off on those tires. So
he does. So you were talking about consistency a little bit, and maybe what I would say consistent about him is actually volume.
Yeah.
It's volume when it comes to him.
He's the only guy in the league you can guess will get 30 carries.
Yeah. So he's consistent with his volume. He's just not consistent with his efficiency. So there can be two separate things for sure. I don't think that will change this year when it comes to his volume. He is headed into a contract year now that the Jaguars declined their fifth-year option. So this is a contract year. I already mentioned before, I love the upside of a contract year player. Ding, 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 upside. Yep. But he's actually one of those guys that's kind of in line for a touchdown progression. He was pretty unlucky in the touchdown department. I think he had like 4 total. I mean, with that many carries, that many catches, I mean, he had a ton of catches too. You just don't really think of Leonard Fournette catching the ball. I mean, it's 70-plus catches last year. I mean, does he repeat those receiving totals? That's a question mark. I mean, he has the volume and the potential. I mean, the draft pedigree to finish as a top 5 running back, but he also has those consistency issues on actually performing with those carries that he could also fall to a low-end RB2. I mean, like, I feel we'll probably do a boomer bust type podcast episode. I mean, he is definitely one of those boomer bust candidates. I mean, he could boom or shit. I mean, he could just quit on the team like he did a couple years ago. You just never know with Fournette.
What I would say and where I would caution is that right now we don't have any running backs who are rookies in our top 12. And I think that's going to change as this offseason goes on.
It could.
And I think that there are several guys that I could see jumping up into that top 12 and pushing him down. Look, I've got him at 14. I don't have him as an RB1. I don't. I would feel fine with him sitting at the back end of RB2.
Back around 2?
Yeah. I can see that by the time draft season rolls around, that's where he falls for me, is that he's the back of No, the back of RB2. Like I can see him sitting somewhere around like RB 20,
high
21,
teens?
22.
Low 20s? Wow.
Yeah, I can see him, for me, on my board getting up to that point. And
well, I want you drafting right before me then.
The only reason I would suggest that I'd be wrong there is because of what you said, which is the amount of volume that he has. And there's just there's no way you can ignore that.
No.
It has to return production to some extent.
It does.
And for the volume that he's gotten, he's really not been as injured as you would imagine.
Yeah.
So, the wheels could fall off, and you could see this guy fall out of your roster.
He could.
Out of your starting lineup. I think you put him on your bench for rainy day, right? But
yeah.
But I can see it happening. I can see it really falling apart down there for him.
Yeah.
And he's just not the flash that you're looking for, I guess, sometimes in that first round. In the back of when you're dealing with second round picks, maybe you're willing to take a little more risk. I mean, we'll talk about draft strategy later on at some point when we want to talk about doing a mock draft, right? We'll talk about what strategy we're going to get into.
Absolutely.
But we can go right ahead here and get after our RB12, finish the rankings up here.
Absolutely.
And who do we have there?
We talked about him before. We have Miles Sanders at our rankings together. We have him number 12. I have him number 14. What did you have him at?
I think I have him right around the same area, actually. Let me see here. I have Miles Sanders at 15, actually.
Okay, wow. Okay.
You would think I would have been higher on him, but
you would think we kind of talked about it before. We talked about Miles Sanders before on this episode. You had some shares in him last year. Just to go back on what we talked about, many people thought that, Peterson and the Eagles would either add a running back in free agency or, in the draft with Jordan Howard leaving, Darren Sproles retiring. Peterson has been known to love him some timeshare, kind of RBs, the RBBC, but, they didn't add anything. That leaves Boston Scott. We mentioned his name before. He actually saw a good amount of action there towards the end of the season, which is kind of shocking. Like weeks 14 and 16, I know it's a very small number at 3 games, but still, he averaged 12 plus touches in those games.
As I mentioned before with Doug Peterson, my concern is that he is more than willing to hand the ball off to somebody who is a very ineffective running back. He proved it with Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard was not effective last year. I don't know if that's the situation for that he was in, or if that's Jordan Howard. Either way, he was not effective, and Miles Sanders was not effective in the first half of last year as well.
Yeah.
When Miles Sanders saw higher volume, it wasn't bell cow volume, but it was what modern NFL bell cows are becoming.
Right, yeah, what we kind of label
your 18 to 21 carries or touches.
Yeah.
And he gets the passing work. He gets the passing work, and he's a bigger guy. He's a stronger guy. So he's got capability of really surprising here. And like I said, he could jump way up there. Right now, he's going in the front of the 3rd round. If I'm drafting in the first, in the top of the draft here, and in my first round, I'm picking a solid running back, and in the 2nd round, I'm getting a pretty good wide receiver 1, maybe 2nd tier kind of guy, and I'm offered Miles Sanders at the top of the 3rd round, like 1 through 3 in the picks there. I'm taking him all day. I'm taking him in the 3rd round. I think he's a 2nd round quality like a 2nd round value. And if I can get him in the 3rd round, and I've already got an RB1 on my team, all day, I'm taking him because I think that he will return value there for you. The concern here is that they're going to go hunting for a free agent, right?
Yeah.
The rumor is they're kicking the tires on Carlos Hyde, who surprisingly is not a very old man like Frank Gore, but he steals carries. He is a thief, a carry thief, and he's the exact kind of thing that I would worry about in Philadelphia because I can see him getting Peterson to believe in him like Jordan Howard did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Miles Sanders, I think, he's a guy who has a real chance doing something that definitely gets above his value.
Yeah.
He's got that upside.
He does. He does. I mean, he's got that upside. He's got, like you said, I mean, Carlos Hyde actually had a career year last year, and he's still sitting on his couch right now. So, I mean, like Boston Scott, Corey Clement, they brought him back. I mean, it's not screaming anything. I mean, they don't really have the draft pedigree or anything like that. So, he does have that amazing talent. He's still really, really young. I mean, he's only going to turn 23 at the beginning of this year. I mean, he has the ability to take on a large workload. So he could finish a lot higher than his ADP may suggest. So I think we both are we're on that Miles Sanders kind of bandwagon. We think he has the potential. We worry about who he plays for. That's what we worry about. That's the thing we really worry about.
Well, what you're also looking at is that he's entering his second year, right? Second year running backs, man. That's usually second year guys make that jump, right? Especially running backs. Wide receivers, second year is supposed to be really good for them too, right?
Yeah.
I think that what you've got here is you've got to look at that top 12 running back range and say who is going to fall out of that range.
Yeah.
Who's going to make the way up into it. And so it's like, I could see Fournette falling out. I could see Miles Sanders moving up. There's a few other guys who have question mark situations who I could see falling out, or they could, the situation could play straight and great for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles Sanders, he could just end up in a timeshare. And he has potential to be phenomenal.
Risky. It is risky.
It is a little bit. Yeah, it is a risk. But like I said, if I'm taking him in the third round, I expect I've already got a running back one on my roster.
You would hope by then, yes.
Yeah, I would hope by then I've got an RB1. If you're offering me Miles Sanders while I already have a guy I'm satisfied as my RB1, I'll take Miles Sanders.
That's a damn good RB2. Oh, my gosh. Ding, ding, ding.
I don't think you're missing out there if he's your RB2.
No.
I've got him as a high-end RB2, so I'm not surprised if he's a low-end RB1. So,
Yep.
So that's it for our top 12 running backs there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit longer than we thought we'd get, but I think we got through them all there fairly solid. We got to give you all that deep dive information.
Absolutely.
Just scratching the surface. Yeah. I mean, look, the guys who are 1 through 12, the guys who were 1 through 12 last year are not going to be the guys who are 1 through 12 this year. So you got to find the guys who are going to move up.
Yeah.
The guys who are going to move down. And that takes some analysis. It takes listening to the right people. We want to help you figure it out. We want to help you win that championship, dominate your league, dominate your draft, start to finish, just own your league. Make everybody wonder where you came from suddenly. If you've been at it for a few years, you got to get it right at some point, right?
Yes.
And have them all confused where you're getting your info. So we're going to be putting our draft kit together. We'll have that set up here soon enough. We're working on projections so that we can get some solid numbers in for you. We're going to have the rankings in there, and we've already got all that part done. We're going to have some sleepers and other stuff, upside guys, things that other analysts aren't going to have for you. We're working on some consistency rankings, and we're going to have a ranking that is a consistent power ranking that's going to be able to demonstrate for you who you should really truly target in those situations where you're looking at guys who you think might be equal picks. Guys who during the course of the season are starting to show up. We want to find that guy for you before anybody else in your league goes and picks him up. Best feeling in the world is Justin texting me saying, "Hey, we're looking for Tyreek Hill. You've had him on your team for 2 weeks already, jerk." That's what you're looking for. That's what you want. You want
Absolutely.
That guy texting you saying, "What the hell, dude?
Yeah.
How'd you find him? How'd you find
How'd
this
you
guy?
know?
Yeah.
How did you know? How did you know? Where are you getting your information?
Yeah, we want to help you find that guy.
We're working on getting our website up and going. We're going to have some more information on that as we move forward. Also, social media. We're going to create our Twitter account, get that going as well, get some more.
Oh, we've already got the Twitter account, right?
We got the Twitter account set up. It's FFB Upside, so take a look at that. We're going to get some more stuff, some more tweets going out there. As soon as we get this uploaded, we're going to get a lot more information. So like you said, we're going to help you dominate your league. Not this year, every year. That's what we want you to do. Not just this year. We want you to do it every year.
We want to help you win your draft and win your league. So,
boom.
So we hope you guys keep coming back. And feel free to submit questions to us. We don't have an email set up specifically yet, but you can go ahead and submit questions if you're watching us on YouTube, and we'll get back to you on that. But we'll set up an email, and we'll have that set up for everybody to go ahead and submit questions soon enough. And we'll let you know if you want to sign up when we have our website set up. We'll have that so that you guys can sign up, and we'll let you know when the draft kit's available for pre-order or order. And we'll get you through the summer to the start of the season. Hopefully we have a start of the season.
Yeah.
So
real quick, Kyle, we do have an email address. It is the fantasyfootballupside@gmail.com.
The
fantasyfootballupside@gmail.com.
There you go. So if you got a question, feel free to submit that question. We'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
If you're one of our earliest listeners, you're going to be able to ask plenty of questions and get plenty of attention. So
plenty of questions.
Yeah.
Plenty.
And hopefully we're able to build trust with you guys over time. We've won leagues. Justin's won. We have a very competitive league. Justin's won twice. I've won twice, and that we're the only ones to win multiple times.
And I'm gonna win 3 times first. So
back to back. That's all I gotta say. Back to back.
That's all right. I'll take you down.
Keeper leagues can be very complicated and challenging.
It can, and we'll talk about more of our.
League, so we will. Talk about it more
we'll talk more as we go. So it's just one of those things we can't help it to talk about our league. You may hear number 1 pick thrown out a lot because I do. That's the only pick that we know coming into this year. I do have the number 1 pick for winning our losers consolation bracket.
Yeah,
but still, so we do know that. So you might hear us reference that quite a bit moving forward.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Hopefully you're back with us. We hope to have an episode here in just another couple of days. So we'll talk to you then. And feel free to hit us up in email or Twitter, and we'll talk to you. Thank you very much.